We are finally in Singapore after 13-14 hours of flying and 6 hours either side of the airport. So we are here in Singapore. We're at the Singapore School of Arts. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey guys and girls, Poketeam King here, back with another Flesh and Blood video. It's been a little while since I've done a Fab video, apologies. I was away travelling, and I didn't really pre-record too much Fab content, and Pokemon's just kind of been absolutely mental at the moment, so a lot of the content has been Pokemon sort of orientated, but we're back with another Flesh and Blood video. So quite a lot has really happened, I think, since we last had a sit-down discussion about it. This video I want to talk about collecting and investing in sealed in Fab, but firstly I'll kind of go through like some of the bits that you know, I've sort of missed recently. Obviously we had the announcement for, you know, the Hunted. We've just had the Portland was it Call-In on the weekend, which was interesting. Misfell Heroes again doing really well. I know there's a lot of, I wouldn't say hate, or it's probably dislike, and it's probably justified, to be honest, with like Misfell Heroes. Obviously when they did the announcement banning for a lot of stuff to try stop Zen, that did inflict Katsu. So I kind of just stopped playing then because the Dishonor line basically got ruined, which was the kind of the main goal of my deck. At least the deck I was running, but for the most part, a lot of the Katsu decks that people were running. But we've had the announcements, you know, of what the heroes are actually going to do, or the two main heroes anyway. The Draconic Ninja and Warrior for the Hunted. So the set looks really good. I don't know... I generally actually think this isn't a set for me personally, even though there is a new Draconic Ninja in there. But I think I really enjoyed Misfell and Rosetta, and I really feel like those two sets were very much a piece of me. Whereas I feel like this next set isn't, and I think that's fine. That's okay. I think sometimes people get caught up a little bit in having to open every set and having just to kind of be, to stay relevant within the game. I feel like some people feel like they have to be collecting all the time. I don't think that's, you know, I don't think that's the case. I think you're allowed to skip sets. A lot of people skip sets. A lot of people didn't like Rosetta or Misfell, and they didn't enjoy, especially Misfell, at least anyway. A lot of people didn't enjoy that. So, you know, I saw quite a lot of the stuff that happened, but that's because of obviously Enigma and Zen. But it's interesting to see where the game's going. Obviously, we've had 5 years now. This is 5 years. You know, we're at 5 years within the game. And if you look at sealed box prices now, a lot of people obviously, you know, for their journey of getting into Fab, they might have been in other card games before. And there's a lot of card games where sealed product does gain traction and gain value over time. There's a lot of different attribute and reasons as to why sealed will move up. And, you know, this is going to be more of an investment video, but with collectors, you know, in mind. But, you know, when I got into Fab, I sold some sealed, well, not sealed, but I sold some displays of tins, Pokemon tins, that enabled me to have the capital to enter Flesh and Blood, whereas I could kind of just get bits that I wanted. So I was a little bit reserved at the time. Obviously, it was a new game. I wasn't really sure. I really liked the art. I thought the cards looked really cool. I really liked the philosophy behind the game and the story. But, you know, we were still in a bubble here with card games. You know, it was during the pandemic and stuff. So I wanted to be careful. Because I'd seen the, you know, the massive hikes that we'd already seen with Flesh and Blood early on when you had those, you know, first 3 sets. So when I joined, it was Crucible of War first edition, and box prices just kept skyrocketing for a while after I got in. And I didn't actually buy my first alpha box until last year. I bought it in February last year, and the price I paid at the time was, I believe it was around $2,300. So that was pretty much market at the time. Now, by the mid of that year, so I'm talking May, June, box prices have gone up to around $5,000. And I thought, bloody hell, this is mental. Like, we'd seen prices for alpha go up before, and they'd come back down, and they were going back up again. A lot of this was to do with people doing their tax returns, obviously the crypto market as well. A lot of it is very much tied in. But those first 3 sets, everything just started spiking a lot. And then it dropped, and it's been continuously dropping now. So if you look at those first three sets, you know, you've got alpha boxes from 1100 to sort of 1500. You've got Arcane Rising, which is like 700 now. I've seen some, I mean, even if you get, you know, a sort of, I guess, a mint condition box, they're not like stupidly expensive to what compared they were before. Obviously, if you get a damaged box, it's even cheaper, good for like, you know, opening stuff. And Crucible of War, you know, we've seen cases for, you know, $900 to $1,000. And I think, you know, $1,000 to $1,200 is probably the right price point. I know Rudy did a sale recently, which was, I think it was a Crucible of War boxes or a case, and some other promos and stuff like that. I don't think the deal was too great compared to the box prices of Crew First Edition on the open market, which can be obtained for around $225 to $240. I guess if you're buying in bulk, if you find somebody that wants to sell and, you know, liquidate, you'll probably get them for a better price. Same for Alpha, same for anything, honestly, really. But you look at like Monarch First Edition, Tales First Edition, they're not moving. You know, you look at some of the other boxes like Everfest. I think that's moved a little bit, but it's still below retail. It was stupidly cheap. I think I picked some boxes up for like £30 each. No, I think some of the sets like Dynasty, Uprising, and Outsiders, and probably Dusk Till Dawn and Bright Lights, those sets I think will do better long term, I think, because the print runs were smaller, you know, obviously print runs were destroyed, and there's so many key cards across those sets. Obviously, a lot of the Ice and Draconic stuff has been moving over time. We obviously had a lot of Guardian stuff, but sets like Outsiders, and I've said this before when I was buying collections, very little Outsiders ever came in through collections with me. Like, my stack of Outsiders is like that big compared to every other set. I've got so little Outsiders, and there's so many good cards in Outsiders as well. A lot of good generic stuff, you know, you got Assassin stuff in there, and Outsiders I feel like is a bit of a slept on, underrated set, because I think a lot of people didn't like it on release, but there's a lot of good cards in that, and this is one of the attributing factors to what drives Sealed in Flesh and Blood, is the meta, is, are the cards playable? So when you look at other card games, and age is a big factor in a lot of card games, you know, over time, these boxes, you know, the age hits, they stop find them on shelves, and then, you know, prices start to creep up. Then you have these just some different spike points where boxes might spike a little bit for certain cards that are inside, but you don't really see that with Flesh and Blood. And I, as somebody who put a lot of money into Sealed Flesh and Blood, that has, at my peak, around 160 cases sealed in storage. Now, I had storage. I still have storage. But one of the questions I kind of asked myself, and it was a discussion I had with a lot of people, was, is it really worth the storage costs to keep this Sealed Flesh and Blood? Based on, you know, the value of this gaining. And I know it's going to be a conversation that some people don't like. Some people, no matter what, they don't like the idea of investing. Or, for me, the main goal wasn't to make money out of these cases. I really enjoyed opening all these sets, and a lot of it was that I wanted to keep these back for in the future when I could just crack at my own leisure. And I have done on streams since. You know, we've done box breaks, we've done, you know, cracking cases, you know, quite a lot on streams over time, and that has been from that product that I've had in storage. And, you know, it was purely just for my own, you know, enjoyment. Okay, maybe I'll keep a couple of cases back and sell in the future. You know, that's my own prerogative. But a couple of cases here and there, wanting to, you know, as invest as such, it's not really an issue. There's people out there with pallets of stuff. But eventually I started cracking a lot of it for singles when I started the single store. You know, cracking a lot of it for singles. Obviously for content, enjoyable. Doing box breaks as well. I had a really good time doing box breaks. You know, we did stuff and whatnot as well, which was a lot of fun. But, you know, it kind of came to a point where it was like, it wasn't really worth, you know, the money that I was spending per month to house this, when either I could not have storage, or I could have other things in there, like sealed Pokemon, for instance. You know, or sealed One Piece, or sealed Star Wars, or Arcana, or whatever. And, you know, was it really worth having this sealed? And for me, the answer was probably no. So I started cracking some. I still got substantial amounts, just because I don't the storage isn't near me, so I can't access it like quickly, and it takes time to crack cases. You know what I mean? Like, you need to have the time to sit down and constantly crack products, which is something I don't always have to do. I don't always have the time to crack, and that's why I don't do as many openings as much these days on the channel. I still do enjoy opening stuff, but you know, I don't have as much time to do a lot of these things. It's because, you know, I'm busy doing other things. So that, you know, there's a lot of trade-offs for there, but ultimately it comes down to a lot of this stuff just isn't moving. I can't see a lot of it moving for a long time. I don't think there's enough reason, not enough fab players or collectors open product. You know, single prices move and single prices shift up. You see a lot of these generics that are very expensive, and the conversations are had across group chats, discords, whatever, at stores. You know, these cards are expensive, but what could stop these cards being expensive? You've either got one, you reprint the cards. Why do they need to be reprinted? Are the cards expensive because the supply is non-existent? And is that because the boxes aren't existent? Because all boxes for Flesh and Blood are fairly readily available, at least in the US anyway. You know, in some parts of, you know, I mean, in the UK, some of these sets aren't as easy to get. But you could just crack, and the EV isn't terrible for Flesh and Blood compared to a lot of card games. You can get absolutely hosed on a lot of card games, but more people will open other products from other card games more than they do with Fab. I think the average consumer of Fab, in whatever way you know, kind of it is, doesn't open as much product as, say, somebody who plays other card games or collects other card games. So why? You know, these single prices, they're not going to get any cheaper, and you can't just reprint everything. So people need to start cracking some product. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that there's stores out there that, you know, they could get their product from, but they don't. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons why some of these single prices are obviously expensive. The generics, I think, is the hardest one, because, you know, everybody's running them. And a lot of these other cards that aren't very playable, they stay really cheap. And then either a new hero gets announced, a new set gets announced, or somebody does well with maybe those cards at an event, and suddenly everybody wants these cards. You know, you look at Stalagmite, for instance, how cheap that got. It was a extended legendary cold foil. Now, Everfest has been cheap for ages. It's not particularly a hard card to pull. You know, you could open cases and cases and get a fair few. I've pulled a lot of Stagmites from opening Everfest. But now they're like €90 each. They're expensive, you know. For my reasoning is, if you're building a deck, that now is going to cost another £70 more than it did a month ago. And obviously, because of the Jarl deck, you know, we've got Ice Guardian now. A lot of the Guardian cards from the earlier sets have started to spike up from like WTR and Crew. You know, some of the ones from Everfest as well, like Imposing Visage is selling quite well. You know, Spinal Crush, whatever the other crush is. Some of the Guardian cards, like Mangle, Stamp Authority from Crew. Again, they've started selling out. Like, all I'm selling, well, not all I'm selling, but a lot of stuff I'm selling is Guardian, Ice, and Draconic stuff. And I suspect that Warrior stuff will start moving. Well, some Warrior stuff has started moving already. It's quite interesting to see the trends in this game. But I think some of the load would have been lightened a little bit if more people cracked product. So I will be getting more cases out of storage consistently whenever I can, and just cracking, obviously. But whenever I list those singles on the market, they do just go like that, because people are just waiting. So, you know, it's an interesting one. But I do feel like sealed in Flesh and Blood isn't the same as sealed in other card games. There's a lot of better other card games that you can hold. I think sealed is king in Pokemon, and it always will be. I think you really can't do very bad in Pokemon in sealed. If you just buy boxes of any set, you know, any main set you buy a booster box of and hold that, you know, I can't say the same thing for Flesh and Blood. So that was a lesson learned anyway for myself. Now, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. I think a lot of people have learned the lesson as well. A lot of people bought into Monarch when it was at its highest. You know, there's a lot of people that bought Alpha maybe when it was near its highest. At the end of the day, you know, it's shiny cardboard, so you take the risks that you can afford at the end of the day. I have seen people make similar comments on socials, and people be like, "Ha ha, yeah, you deserve that," and whatever. And it's like, you know, people can do what they want with their money, obviously. But now I just want to keep one of every box for my collection in my display. Obviously, Flesh and Blood makes probably, I think, the best looking boxes out of any card game. I can safely say that. The boxes just look unreal. Whatever's inside that set, the box art looks unreal anyway. I still remember seeing Everfest when that box was announced, and that was the whole carnival thing. Like, oh, that was amazing. And then obviously I remember Tales of Aria, Misfail, Rosetta. I mean, all the boxes just look really nice. If anything, one of the boxes I least like the design of is Dynasty, and actually one of my favorites is History Pack. I think History Pack's boxes look so cool. But yeah, that's my thoughts on kind of sealed in Flesh and Blood. Obviously, if you're buying Crucible of War now at the prices they are, you know, it's only, 2-3 times retail now. I think Crew's the best set. It's my favourite set anyway. I've harped on enough about Crew. But I think at the price point it has now, I think it's really good to sort of enter in. And I don't know if Alpha, the first 3 sets will ever get any cheaper than they are now. I think the collector base will grow with Flesh and Blood. And eventually those first 3 sets will start to go back up again. But I think a lot of those sets like Monarch and Tales, I think they're going to take a long, long, long time to move. Especially, you know, well, even more so Unlimited, but, you know, first edition, obviously. Just because I don't think even people will crack the cards, because a couple of legendaries in those sets do really well. But I just don't think, you know, there's enough of a reason. And there's too many variables in the game, which are not enough of them end up channeling into box prices moving. But yeah, hey, you know, that's probably a good thing for the health of the game. People can still crack boxes for retail or below. They might not be able to get it from the store, but they might be able to get it online. So, you know, availability. I mean, we're on our 14th, 15th set now, and there's not a single box that you probably can't obtain. Not a single box can be obtained. You know, 5 years of product. Now, if you were trying to get some of the Pokemon boxes, it's a different matter. You know, some of other card games, it's quite difficult to maintain. You wouldn't be able to buy straight off from a card store, you know, or, you know, somebody you know, for instance, on a Facebook group. You wouldn't be able to just go out and buy all those. So that's probably a good thing for the health of the game, but, you know, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few years of the game. Obviously, we got these Mastery Packs as well, which is another addition to the game. You know, these Armory decks are doing quite well. I think probably the worst thing you could probably bought was Blitz decks. If you bought bricks of Blitz decks, I am sorry for you, because you're probably never going to make your money back. I've seen people just give away Blitz decks now, and I think it's definitely probably the worst item. They look quite nice. I mean, I've got the Alpha starter decks. I've got like 4 or 5 of each deck now, just because I think they look really cool. But, you know, they've dropped massively in value in that, and they're probably never really going to sort of gain too much value, because I don't think there's enough in there for it to happen. So the collector base in this game would have to grow like 100-fold for there to be real movements in sealed, I think, again. But it'll be interesting to see what happens anyway. As always, please comment, like, and subscribe. I really do appreciate any content. If you agree or disagree, let me know. I like a debate. I like a conversation, especially in the comments. It's always fun. Other people sometimes chime in as well, and it makes it even more enjoyable. Hit the links in the description below as well. I've got the Discord. Obviously, if you want to become a member, I really appreciate it. We get exclusive content. Content's always 24 hours early as well. So there's another bonus, and you get a 5% discount on the store. And, you know, I can offer 5% discount on Cardmarket if there's things that you want on there. And as always, have a great day.